So obviously, like, the clip of Joe Biden's failed riff is the one getting a lot of burn. But of course, immediately when people started making fun of that, or even implying that it was perhaps racist of Joe Biden to say you ain't black if you're not voting for Joe Jack, is that all of the people who spent like all of last year convincing everyone that Bernie Sanders and his supporters are racist have found every way to just tell me you have to listen to the whole interview to get the context of what triggered Joe into saying that. And you know what? I took their advice and saw the rest of the interview, and people really, really missed a beat by making this the thing that everyone talked about, because there was a lot of other great stuff in this Joe Biden interview that, I've been assured is okay to say. It's an okay thing to say. It's not bad. It's not wrong. And certainly shouldn't affect your judgment or of his character or morality in saying these things. Never. And so I would just like to go through some of the other clips from the Joe Biden Charlemagne interview that I think have gotten unfairly sort of shunted to the side amidst this pseudo controversy.
In many ways, he's suffering from his own success. He had this one-hit wonder, and no one really listens to the deep cuts. I think that's a Biden thing.
All right, so Chris, why don't you pull up the first one, the first clip, which is I've titled "Carnival Games," and I would like to just give a thank you to Jack Allison, who is the one who actually pulled all of these clips and compiled them for us here. So let's watch that first clip. Joe Biden talks about carnival games.
Yeah, we know polls can be illusions, though. We looked at all the polls in 2016 too, and look what happened.
Totally different, man. 2016 is totally different. What you had then is you had somebody who didn't know it all. They wanted to just change the system the way it was. He was the biggest change. He had no serious opposition that turned out to materialize. And so it's totally different. Right now, we're in a situation where it's like, that Carney show goes through town once and you find out there's no pee under any one of those 3 shells that get pushed around. Mm-hmm. Next time it comes back, what do? Next time back, you ain't playing. You got to figure it out. And let me tell you something. My community's figured it out a while ago. But here's the deal. What I have to do is I have to continue to talk about the things that matter. And the things that matter are, for example,
fairness and carnival games.
A study out of Columbia University and the Disease Control Center up there. They pointed out that if he had listened to me and others and acted just 1 week earlier to deal with this virus, there'd be 36,000 fewer people dead. Dead. And you guys are wondering what's he doing? Come on, man. Get a life.
I love every time, Joe. There's so much great shit in this clip.
There's so much going on here.
I want to say the thing I love most about Joe's verbal style is whenever he has to end a sentence, he's like, oh shit, I don't know how did I even get in here, man? So he has to start yelling to get out of it. It's like he echolocates his way out of a sentence, and you saw this in the debate a lot. When it was his the first debate, his closing statement was hilarious. It was something like, I remember when John McCain said, "Can you carry my coffin?" I said, "It's an honor, man. You're a never man. I'm a man." And that's what it's really all about. And then he's like, "Oh no, how do I get out of this?" And he's just like, and that's what it's all about. He just has to shout his way out. And this one, he's in the middle of this thing about this study that, God knows how that's being filtered in his brain. And the Carney show, which is a great thing to call a carnival, and the pee under the shell. But he's like, oh, man, I don't recognize this neighborhood.
Dead. I want their families dead. I want the place where they work burned to the ground. Okay, so yeah, I feel like this tribute. I mean, this clip of Biden pays such tribute to you, Felix, because he is more E1 Biden than Joe Biden was before you guys did that episode. And I think you guys should take no small amount of credit for willing this into being. He is becoming that guy with more and more with every passing day. I mean, just talking about the carnival game with the pee in it, and then so he says we got to beat him. He's like, we got to beat him by talking about what's important. But I'm saying that after this anecdote about a pee game at the Carney show, and then the other thing, it starts out with him saying, like Charlemagne is bringing up the reasonable point that, while national polls maybe or even state ones may be showing him with a good lead on Trump right now, we know based on prior experience that those can be perhaps, fool's gold, or we shouldn't put too much stock in them. And then he just immediately is like, it's wrong, man. Wrong. 2016, totally different than now.
And his explanation of 2016 is so insane. Like, is he saying that Trump had no serious opposition? Like, he beat 16 candidates in the primary.
And also, is he just owning Hillary there? In which case, that's pretty funny. If he's essentially saying Hillary wasn't actually competition to him.
Well, we know that Joe resents Hillary. So, like,
well,
maybe,
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, she stole the spot. Like, he clearly was going to run in 2016. Obama talked him out of it. And then he allowed that to happen. And then he looks back and he's like, that was my shot. And so now, yeah, he's going to be tormented about it until he gets there.
Man, that was the last year of my good brain, man.
I could have actually done something as president. I could have remembered some of it.
Man, I didn't get lost in the sentences before that.
And
Didn't
so
have
he's
to shout so much, man.
And what I like about this is that he's using the metaphor of the carnival barker, of the sort of the big top grifter, fleecing pigeons on the boardwalk or whatever with 3-card money or whatever, as a stand-in for Trump and the election. And he was like, well, 2016 was the election where we all got fleeced by, we figured out we couldn't actually throw that ring over the thing that would let us get the giant, teddy bear. Then he's like, and then when, but you realize when there's no pee under the cup, you learn, you come back. And it's just like, if he's using this as a metaphor for American democracy and like, sort of amoral hucksterism and demagoguery represented vis-a-vis Trump, he's got it all backwards. Like the whole point of this country is that like you go back to the pea cup game every single fucking time.
And Joe Biden is proof positive of that. He's the nominee because so many fucking rubes are still going back to the Obama carnival game, where they didn't have the middle class basically wiped out and replaced with gig economy hamster wheel misery, even before the fucking COVID or whatever the fuck.
And even explaining that the game is rigged is no barrier to a line around the block of potential contestants because they want to figure it out. They think they're smarter than it. That's why it works. Like Joe should be coming up with a better game. He should be doing the little the BB gun game or the ring toss or something. He should be providing a better rigged game for people to play.
Certainly. I mean, and also, I have never seen. That's like 3-card Monty, right? I've never seen any variation of 3-card Monty at a carnival. I'm just going to say that.
I mean, it's a little different with cups and a pea, But
but I've never seen the pea in the cups either.
No,
it's actual
mainly
carnival?
ring toss.
It's ring toss. It's it's the gun. It's like spraying the water in the clown's mouth so that you can win the horse race.
Throwing a baseball at milk bottles.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of infrastructure to it. I mean, some guy's got like a tent next to the carnival with a fucking pea in it. I think is where he went. Joe, where did you go with the carnival man?
But yeah,
there was no carnival in town, Joe.
But all of this and like the subsequent clips as well. But just Joe, the personality, the figure of Joe Biden in this moment in his life and the world, largely due to Felix, I am coming around to the position that it is more and more likely that Joe Biden will win this election and maybe even win it easily, because Felix, as you pointed out, he's become funnier than Trump to to listen to and talk to. Like it's the dumbest possible outcome. It's the one that will lead to people not only not learning anything, but like erasing shit that they might have already learned. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's see another couple clips from the Joe Biden interview.
Hell yes.
There's a lot of other gems in here.
God, these delicious bonbons.
Yeah.
That I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago. Sean Combs, you might know him as Diddy.
Yep.
Absolutely. Including myself, feel, and that's that Democrats take black voters for granted. Votes are quid pro quo, right? It's not like I don't want to vote. I just want to know what candidates will do for us in exchange for our votes. The same way young progressive Latinos, the LGBT community.
Absolutely.
We want the same thing. Do you feel like black people are owed that from the Democratic Party?
Absolutely, Paul. What would I say? Remember when they said Biden can't win the primaries?
Yes.
I kicked everybody's out. Excuse me.
I need you to say that. You did what?
No. I won overwhelmingly. I told you when I got to South Carolina, I won every single county. I won a larger share of the black vote than anybody has, including Barack. I increased the vote in Virginia overwhelmingly by 70%. Look, what people don't know about me is I come from a state that's the 8th largest black population in America. The 8th largest. I get 96% of that vote for the last 40 years. They're the folks, as they say it my way, brung me to the dance. That's how I get elected every single time. And everybody's shocked. I get overwhelming support from the black leadership, young and old. Every poll shows me way ahead. And it's not just, I hear this, oh yeah, old blacks are with Biden, but young aren't. Look at the polling data. Polling data, let's say it's off by half.
Yeah,
on,
okay.
Man. Give me a little break here.
Okay. All right. I gotta break this down a couple ways. So Charlemagne begins by asking and articulating like a very simple and easy to understand point that so many people are offended by. And you know, like Charlemagne, you know, he is our I guess publishing label mate. He has some goofy political opinions, but like what he says here is essentially like, do you think Democrats take black voters for granted? And that like in voting for a politician, it's a quid pro quo. Like you vote for a politician because you expect something in return from them.
Right. And Joe decides to talk about something completely different.
Yes. And not okay. So the question is, like, you know, if you assume a model of that, like voters should get something, politicians should do something for the people who vote for them, and that you should expect them to. The standard liberal Democrat brain now is like that is deeply, you know, that's blasphemy to even describe that like that politicians need to do something for you by outside of not being a Republican.
They don't owe you anything.
Okay, so then he says, like, you know, do you think that Democrats take the black vote for granted? And then he proceeds to rattle off, again, a couple of like actual lies. I don't think he did win a bigger share of the black vote in the South Carolina primary than Barack Obama did. And nor do I think polls would show that he has overwhelming black support under the age of 40.
Well, no, I'm sure he does. No, against Trump, yeah, he does.
Okay,
for
probably.
Sure. Of course,
well,
but the thing is, what percentage of that group are going to vote for him? Are going to come out? Like, if you're talking about people who are going to vote, we know what the turnout is for younger voters of all races. It's dog shit, which means most of them don't like him.
And you know, like what I like about this is the question is, do you think Democrats take the black vote for granted? And then his answer says that for 40 years, I've gotten 99% of the black vote. Every black person votes for me. So, like, yeah, fuck you. Like, he gets angry at this, and then he gets angry at the implication that he's taking his 99, like his unbroken record of, you know, winning the support of every black person for granted by not answering the question and just staying, like, literally taking all those votes for granted by just saying, well, I have them, so how can anyone question it?
Exactly, because they have no answer anymore. The Democratic Party has been stripped of any enticement to vote for them positively. Obviously, they have no economic platform, but with Biden, they don't even have representational benefits for minority groups who would like to see someone of their group in a high position. All they have is not Republican, and so when he's pushed, because he doesn't have a brain anymore, all that's left is like the reptile brain response, which is obey. I own you. Because I am the only thing standing between you and what you imagine to be the apocalypse of unrestrained Republican government. And then nobody wants to, and the reason these are gaffes is because you're supposed to pretty that up. And you're supposed to deny it's true. But he doesn't have the bandwidth anymore to pull out anything. Because there's nothing to do except use flowery words to get around the hole at the center of it. And he is not very flowery these days. Oh, did you see the interview where they asked him, when the interviewer asked him, what do you think, Joe Biden, what does he bring to the campaign? What are his strengths as an opponent? And he goes, well, I was going to say experience, but I don't know if Joe remembers anything. I don't know if he knows where he is. All right, and it's like when you have someone, the president, saying that all day, and you have no way of rebutting it, because what do? Have him go out and talk to prove that he's wrong?
Come on, man. I remember my life. Who are you kidding? I recall events.
There's a man in suspenders. I remember him.
All right, let's.
He'll just describe Don Draper's childhood.
Yeah, the hobo code. We etched it onto the fence posts.
Back in those days, it was easier to take a man's identity. My name isn't Joe Biden, man.
A lot of people
By the time I went to Korea, I knew I didn't want to go back to the farm, man. We couldn't even grow any sorghum. Who are you kidding? Get a life.
A lot of people said, listen, Jack, a lot of people said my dad was an untrustworthy man, but they were just doing graffiti, and he's not even my dad. He just owns the whorehouse I was raised in, Jack. All right. Well, all right. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Main Street.
No, come on. Like, who you kidding? I met Conrad Hilton, okay? He said, okay, if you do blackface at your own wedding, that's one thing, but I'm sorry, that's stupid. I shouldn't have said that. I talk too much. Thing about
shucks.
Tax credit, man.
That is my absolute favorite thing that he does, and I hope he does it more and more, and I think he will, is when he realizes that he is in a blind alley of a sentence, and instead of yelling, just kind of goes, shucks, I messed that up.
Those are the two ways he gets into it. Like, he's either Joe Biden's verbal style now is walking into the wrong house. And the two things he can do are like, what the hell are you doing in my house, man? Get out of here. or like, oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
It's like you come home, he's in your living room making a sandwich in your refrigerator, and you're like, oh my God, how the hell did you get in my house? And then he just goes, they're dead, man. Dead. Dead.
By the way, that's the one thing that could actually fuck this up for him, because obviously if they beat Trump, a big reason is because enough people blame him for all the dead people thanks to this virus. And it hurts your case when you hit it that hard, because then people really do see it as instrumental, as you literally are politicizing death. And I know obviously that's an absurd thing to say, and it's a dumb belief. Everything's politicized, certainly during a political campaign, but people think that way. People do have that idea of like, it's tawdry to exploit death for politics. And you can get around that if you finesse it, but just yelling dead is not going to do that.
Yeah.
It's like he's happy about it.
Yeah.
Because it's giving him a chance to be president.
Okay, let's watch another Joe Biden clip.
Hell yes.
Let's go. Let's keep it rolling. I believe this is him talking about the crime bill.
School. I had a job, a country club kind of job at a swimming pool. I was the only white employee in the East Side because I wanted to work in the projects, because I wanted to understand. That's how I got involved in politics. That's what this is all about for me. It's about equality. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with respect. And so, when you take a look at my record, people talk about the crime bill. Crime bill didn't increase mass incarceration.
Oh, word?
Other things increase mass incarceration. And the reason why, if you go back and look, and I know you talk about it, you go back and take a look. That's why you had the vast majority of the Black caucus at the time supporting the crime bill. Almost every major city Black mayor supported the crime bill, because Blacks were getting killed overwhelmingly as well.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I truly love about this is that Joe Biden will always have more Black friends, supporters, and admirers than any of the women who say things like Black Twitter ain't having no Bernie. Like, any of the women that use like Black women gifs as hieroglyphics, as sort of like avatars of sassiness, who so badly want a Black friend, will never have the number of friends, admirers, or supporters that are Black that Joe Biden does. And that makes me feel so good.
It's very
funny. No one likes to sin.
Part of that is, though, because he was the fastest white boy in the Big Ten. It was this interview that I realized, because obviously Felix has talked about how Joe Biden is Dan Quinn, but it occurred to me that Trump is Demonius X.
That's
and that this is the YouTube Maniac election, and it's Demonius X versus Dan Quinn. And I gotta say, if we're at the terminal state where all we could do is like watch things fall apart in the most amusing and root for the most amusing combination of falling objects, you can't beat that, really.
It is. Joe is so Dan Quinn, because I feel like maybe 1% of his stories are true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They have that in common.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like, it's incredible. This is the perfect end to American culture and empire.
The guy defended his vote on the crime bill, by saying he worked at a fucking swimming pool.
That's awful. That's like what Dan Quinn would say if he was in Congress.
And
like,
then he
"Why did
also
you do this?"
and then he also said the crime bill did not result in mass incarceration, and then defends it by saying black people supported it. Like,
well,
I did it for
that
you.
is true.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, if you're talking about black politicians, yeah, shit, even Bernie voted for the crime bill.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of blame to go around there, but you can't say 30 years after the fact that it did not lead to like this insane explosion in our prison population.
I mean, obviously it was a confluence of factors, but one of them has got to be a law that increased how long people stay in prison for crimes.
Yeah.
That increases the number of people in prison. It's length of sentences, not just infractions, it's length of sentences that keep people in prison. Because if you're not in there for that long, you don't have that many people in the prison. They stack up when you keep keeping them in there for decades.
Okay, last Joe Biden clip.
Why does it not make sense to have African Americans who are getting out of prison serve their time, everybody for that matter, be able to have public housing? Why doesn't it make sense that they can have Pell Grants to go to school?
Pell Grants?
Why doesn't it make sense they can have access to health care? What are we, nuts? That's what we keep doing.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's our time there.
No, I'm sorry. I know Jill has to use this, but I'm talking too much.
Jill has to
use this. Jill has to use the computer den. That's why I have to leave the interview. No, that was his campaign stepping in to be like, okay, time to wrap it up. But I did like that because I think they decided to wrap it up because they realized that he had just committed himself to guaranteeing federal housing for recently released felons, and they're like, "Oh, we're definitely not going to do that." Yeah.
I also very much enjoyed.
They're not going.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's not talking about that. Like the way he talked about education, he didn't say free college. He said fucking Pell Grants. The idea that somebody gets out of jail, and it's like, hey, you can go to college now. You got a Pell Grant. Well, fuck me running. I know.
Like, you heard his campaign guy going like, Joe's brain's malfunctioning. He's like, Jill has to go on the email. Jill needs to record some OnlyFans content.
Wait, sorry, we have one more Joe Biden clip. This is the weed smoking one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This one.
You say that you would decriminalize marijuana. What's the difference between legalizing it and decriminalizing it?
Because they're trying to find out whether or not there is any impact on the use of marijuana, not in leading you to other drugs, but what it affects. Does it affect long-term development of the brain? And we should wait till the studies are done. I think science matters.
I think we got decades and decades of studies from actual weed smokers, though.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot of weed smokers.
Okay. So he responded to a question that asked, what's the difference between two things with because, which that's not how you can respond to that. That's not allowed because
he does like the he knows he can't get away with saying that we have to keep marijuana illegal because it's a gateway drug. Right. Because that's been debunked so thoroughly now, it's just uncontroversial to state otherwise. So he says, no, we have to wait another 30 years because we got to wait for the next round of studies to show whether it harms your brain or something. Yeah.
It's and like Charlemagne says,
he'll change his mind on that really quickly, though. Even Republicans are really coming around to that because there's just too much money in it.
There's too much money, and public opinion is too strongly in favor of it at this point.
Yeah.
So he's trying to have it both ways here, but not answering the question. And then when Charlemagne says I think we have all the studies we need just based on all the people who've been smoking weed regularly for decades, and or
I do
society. And he goes, yeah, I do. I know a lot.
Joe, what do you do? I do what? What did you think he said?
He said, I know a lot of weed smokers. I mean, I think he's referring to Barack and the Choom Gang.
Yeah, the Choom Gang. We go hoop.
I was the first white boy to go to Hawaii and help find them seeds.
I wanted to start, Felix. I wanted to start. What if
Dro could cure Joe Biden's dementia?
I wanted to start talking about how you can add water to the bag you just bought, and he's like, "Yo, I'm paying for weight, not water. I can do eight bong rips in a row in my car off one load."
A lot of people don't think I could beat 9. Okay, listen, you got to get a life if you think I put orange peels in it. Okay. Oh, great! Here comes my mom to queer the deal. What? Go into YouTube and type "Can he beat 9" and tell me that isn't a Joe Biden speech.
Yes.
Yep.
So there
it's
we go.
Uncanny, honestly.
Yeah, it's insane.
We
That
just all
is-
watch too much damn YouTube maniacs, and they turned into tulpas.
Yeah, like Joe Biden used to just be like a boring, shitty Democrat, and then he just became Dan Quinn.
Yeah, like the thing they talk about. Oh, Joe Biden, he was always a gas bag, and he was always prone to gaffes. Yeah, but it was just boring political bullshit. Not this majesty, this Joycean logorrhea. It's amazing.
This shit owns.
It's so good, and that is why I know they will not debate, because that's too fun.
No, yeah,
We don't get
never
that
be-
in this world.
It's good. The DNC that's going to be held on Zoom and start with like Fight Song 2 it's going to suck so much.
Awful.
Because it's going to suck because they're going to give Joe like everything a Hollywood producer gives his hyperactive child.
Yep.
And he's just going to talk about like Pell Grants for 3 hours. It's going to fucking blow. They should just like let him go off the cuff. They should
That
just,
would
like,
be
let him
awesome,
take
just like Trump
questions.
should have.
Yeah.
I will put this down now. If they do have the trappings of a convention and they don't just scrap it entirely, which they honestly could, they could just have everyone vote via email.
Yeah.
If he gives an acceptance speech, it will be the shortest in history. They're not going to allow him to go out there for how long are those things? Half an hour? Even off a teleprompter, they don't trust that. So it's going to be like a 5-minute like list of basically just a string of rejected campaign slogans, and then they're going to wheel them off stage.
All right. That was Joe Biden on the Breakfast Club. I mean, honestly, just kind of demonstrating why he ran the table on everyone, including us. I mean, the guy's unstoppable. So, as long as we're talking about people and things that are true to themselves in spite of it all, in spite of their awfulness, them having a certain insane authenticity gives them a little pleasure and in the enjoyment of their company. And of course, I'm talking about Joe Biden. And let's get into the news this week, because like I got 3 Biden polls for you that are each individually. We could probably do an entire episode on them. So this is just Biden continues to fulfill our. He's the prophecy that we have spoken into life. Biden continues to live up to our expectations. Chris, let's run that first clip. It's probably the best Biden clip we've featured yet.
It's
on
a
this
full
show.
spectrum.
This is he's a 5-tool player in this clip.
Yeah.
Mr. Vice President, your opponent in this election, President Trump, has made your mental state a campaign topic. And when asked in June if you'd been tested for cognitive decline, you've responded that you're constantly tested in effect because you're in situations like this on the campaign trail. But please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying, before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to President Trump, who brags about his test and makes your mental state an issue for voters?
Well, if he can't figure out the difference between an elephant and a lion, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Did you watch that? Look, come on, man. I know you're trying to goad me, but I mean, I'm so forward looking to have an opportunity to sit with the president or stand with the president in debates.
Or stand, however we want to do it.
There's going to be plenty of time. And by the way, as I joke with him, I shouldn't say it. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say. Anyway, I am very willing to let the American public judge my physical and mental as well as my mental fitness, and to make a judgment about who I am.
Oh my God. Vapor locking on mental fitness twice in a row. How do you beat that?
He's like, I love how like there's so much to love about this clip.
Okay, I mean,
I've been rewatching, but like I love how the question the reporter asked is, Trump's talked a lot about his cognitive test. Would you take one? And Biden's like, I mean, skip through all the hilarious stuff of demanding the guy take some type of cocaine test, but being like, I know you're trying to goad me. Like, I know you would only ask me that if you hated me.
Yeah. No, that's his whole attitude towards any remotely challenging question. It's the same as Trump. It just assumes hostility and then just dismisses the person on that basis. Like when Trump did the thing with the guy who goes, "You can't do that."
Yeah.
It's like you're not allowed to not accept my frame on every issue.
But let's
Because
go down
they're confused old men.
let's go down the list here though, like because in that like 30-second clip, he exhibits like all of the Biden tools. We've got two really good come on mans, which honestly should just be his campaign slogan at this
Absolutely.
point. It should be Biden 2020. Come on, man. Like, I mean,
That's what he's selling.
sums it up. That's so perfect. It's so pithy. It's brilliant. Like, it's as good as Make America Great Again, because like it's the perfect response to that. It's just America 2020. Come on, man. Okay, then to the question about would he take a cognitive test, he's like, are you kidding me, man? Did you take a cocaine test? Are you some kind of junkie? Like to a non-white journalist asking him this question, which is like a little bit weird. But here's the thing: no one cares. Nope. No one like who out there who could try to make an issue out of this that would go anywhere at all.
Yeah,
right.
No, I noticed a weird thing about this is that a lot of people who have been humorously observing liberals for the last 4 years freak out about every Trump gaffe and stupid statement and scandal, saying, "Oh, this is going to be it for him," and they go, "Really? What idiot?" And they'll, that's why poor Jesse Farrar had to delete his classic nevertheless tweet because it got too common. But I think a lot of people who have totally understood that like Trump is beyond this shit, they still think, like, I've seen people talk about these clips about Biden like, wow, oh my God, they might lose to Trump. It's like, he might lose to Trump. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's not going to be because of anything like this. The new reality has now like absorbed into the entire political system. And guess what? All those liberals who spent 4 years mad at Trump and outraged by every stupid thing he said, they were also deeply jealous that Republicans didn't care and they wanted to not care. And now they don't have to care.
Yeah,
it's ecstatic.
Yeah, all the stuff where, like, they talked about how, like, liberals were unprepared to respond to Trump. And that was mostly true because the response to Trump was their same insufficient response that they had to Bush, they had to Reagan, that they had to anyone else, where it's like, oh, we're going to fact check you. We're going to do. But it's like, what if you had, like, a man who his brain has just reverted to its last state before death, which is vividly remembering every small event from 50 years ago and not knowing where you are.
The sort of nostalgic euthanasia aspect of Biden, and this next clip, which you like alluded to about driving the car, is also just a perfect manifestation of this moment and what he represents in our culture. So let's play the next Biden clip.
I like to drive. I used to think I was a pretty good driver.
Before they took my license away.
I didn't get a chance to flat shift in the second. I was afraid I'd go through those guys.
Tomorrow morning, we're talking about cars and what car you'd like to see come back.
I love this car. Nothing but incredible memories. Every time I get in, I think of my dad and Bo. God, can my dad drive a car? Oof. The thing I like most is the setup right here. And you feel like you're in complete control. This is just boom. Now, you can stand in the front here. This is iconic industry. How can American-made vehicles no longer be out there? I believe that we can own the 21st
I wonder how that
century
happened.
market again by moving to
Literally
electric
everything
vehicles.
you did in your career.
And by the way, they tell me, and I'm looking forward, if it's true, to driving one, that they're making an electric Corvette and go 200 miles an hour. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding.
Yes, Joe Biden should drive a car 200 miles an hour. That would go well.
Okay.
Letting him go down the fucking driveway to give the impression that he can still operate a motor vehicle.
So this is Joe Biden talking about, like, he's talking about and driving around. It's like a classic Corvette convertible, which is just like the ultimate symbol of both American prosperity and like economic and industrial prowess, but also coolness, like a sort of modernity, a sexiness, and like it's like a better time. And it's just like the image of, like, this sort of, he's got the sunglasses on, he's got his like snow white hair slicked back, just looking at a Corvette going like, man, that was the best, wasn't it? God, my dad could drive. Oof, God, you love these cars. They were great. You know, one day, Ray, we're gonna make these cars again, and it's like, no, we're fucking not. We're not coming. We're not coming back to be like, oh, America is gonna lead the world in making cars again. It's just like, Felix, like you said, like literally everything you've done in your life in politics has made that impossible at this point, and you would actively oppose like any attempt to, I don't know, restart American manufacturing to any degree. But it's just like, this reminds me of like, as a campaign ad, as a feeling, it reminds me of the scene in Soylent Green at the end when Edward G. Robinson gets wheeled into the euthanasia center and they just show him like a film strip of like sunsets and deer frolicking, and he's just sort of blown away by it. And I think like that narcotic effect, that nostalgic euthanasia, is what Joe Biden is both experiencing in his own brain as it, you know, turns off, but it's what is what people respond to in him is just this idea of like, yeah, like we're all dying. Like this country is pretty much defeated at this point entirely. I mean, just look fucking around. But man, it's like what you were saying. It's like how him and Trump are like the perfect inverse, and like what kind of old person whose brain is fitzing out like do you want to be? Yeah. One who like is just angry and shouting at the home care nurses and fucking like demanding and arguing every point, or do you just want one who's just like ice cream in the day room?
Because it's about whether or not you acknowledge reality. Because like the Donald Trump way of being old is, no, I'm still here, I'm still with it. Give me the nuclear codes, give me the car keys. And Biden is at the point of acceptance where he's like, oh yeah, no, this is it. I'm entering the last dimly lit hallway of my life, and if this is all I have, I might as well, reflect on what I've enjoyed, and that's ice cream cones and driving around with my dad in his vet. And if we elect him, it will be the national transition from denial to acceptance in the Kubler-Ross cycle regarding America's destiny. It will be America collectively saying, yeah, okay, this is it. Let's go out remembering some guys and some tunes.
But crucially, to Felix's point, and no part of like the denial or acceptance stages do either of these plans include like rationally and soberly like assessing the problems that this country has and suggesting like sober, reasonable solutions to any of them.
No, that's not going to happen. And they know that.
If we go on both of them for an infinite timeline, like if you found this endless supply of dementia-addled Democrats with like some weird bullshit Northeastern charm, or a bunch of just weird morons who have enough of a combination of childhood trauma and brain damage on the Republican side, the ending on a long enough timeline is the same. It's American consulates, the spies, the increasingly dumber spies with every generation, the troops, the fatter, shorter, whatever troops being pointed out of the embassy, loaded onto planes by bayonets. It's food shortages. It's stuff we've already seen, like a pandemic comes and we don't have enough masks when we need them. It's the same conclusion. It's the same sad, slow collapse. The giant falling over, Godzilla collapsing
Florida
on the skyline.
Slowly disappearing.
Yeah. It's the same conclusion, but one is done screaming against the sun. Just complete social strife everywhere, denial, rage, finding out every enemy, internal and external, that explains why we're not back. We're not the America of Reagan. We're not Pax Americana like we have with Trump. Or it's like, you look at the fall of Saigon happening in 70 countries concurrently. You watch the empire get decapitated. You watch just the collapse of any type of competence or ability to deal with any internal problem. And you go, wow, well, that sometimes that happens, man. I tried my best. To pull back from the macro and look at the micro, something I love about the car ad is it's about masculinity.
Yeah.
And you can't imagine Trump driving a car.
I don't think he knows how to.
I don't think he's ever actually driven a vehicle under power in his life.
And one thing I think is amazing is the Hillary people and all the other Democrats, their message with Trump was he's toxically masculine. And I always thought that was the most insane fucking thing. And I know toxically masculine doesn't mean that you're the most masculine, but blah, blah, blah. How do you think that comes off to most people? But Biden Biden is old enough and the people around him are old enough that he's like, yeah, this guy's a fat pussy. And he is right.
Yeah.
I think he's right about that.
Yeah,
he's
he
a
is.
fat pussy who can't drink water.
There's
Yes,
something about the line in that video clip though. It's the one that like everyone comes on to. Is like first it like just begins where he's saying like I love to drive, and then when he just goes, man, my dad could drive a car. Oof. It's just like it's something. There's a poignance in it. It's like a threnody for both the individual and America itself. It's just like we don't even drive our cars like our father, Dupree. You know, we're weaker than them. You know.
And contrast that with how he talks about literally anything else. It's just a chore to get through a sentence. Anything related to like the way he's talking about the thing at the end with the industry where he goes, I can't believe they're not making cars no more for America. Just loses coherence, loses energy, just starts mumbling. But with thinking about his dad behind the wheel, it's like he's ready to like launch a fucking Proustian reverie. He's actually gets coherent and he gets emotionally coherent.
That the corn pop story.
Yeah.
Story that, again, talking about how foolish we were. When I heard corn pop, it's like, oh, this is nothing. This is done. But it's like, I was so foolish to misjudge this country and the people in it because it's like, no, we just want to remember that when like you could just be like a cool white guy at a pool and become the legend of your shitty Northeast town.
4 touchdowns in a single game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. And it's like, no, I should have noticed because whenever he was at the debates, it was hilarious. Like just the transcripts of the shit he would say at the debates was so funny. And it makes me think of in that first clip when he goes, I'm so forward looking. It's so conspicuous that he can't even get through that because he doesn't want to think about the future at all, ever.
He'll be dead.
Yeah, very soon. Like when it comes to the past, he could tell an entire like story that takes place over the course of 6 hours flawlessly. Like he told the corn pop story flawlessly. Mm-hmm. Compare that to him trying to talk about taxes, the thing that he's supposed to be doing. But no, that's not the thing we're electing him for. We're electing him to just walk around the country and be like, you know, oh, I remember when I like, you know, fought another boy over who got dibs on the jukebox. Like just a flawless recounting of a time where, you know, this country wasn't such a degrading place to live.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, they're actually pitching it. Yeah. I remember when Jon Stewart did his little media push for his movie a month ago, and he was like, you know, I've come around. I used to just be like, I'll take Biden just to beat Trump. But now I think he's going to be a great president because look at how good he is at giving eulogies. Look at how good he is at evoking a sense of grief for people who are hurting. Like, yeah, that's just, he's selling himself to be the designated mourner for the dying country on the fucking slab.
Yeah. That is I love how multiple people, different people without talking to each other, have talked about how good he is at funerals.
Yeah.
Like it's the most, it's like this mass acceptance of death. It's not accepting it enough to be like, okay, we need Bernie. We need to negotiate our exit from empire.
Well, that's the thing is, they don't think that's possible.
Lives.
That's an experimental treatment that they don't have any faith in or ability to afford. Like given the current constraints, which of course guys like Biden exist to maintain. And since it's not something that can be conceived of, then death is inevitable. And yes, we might as well accept it.
Here's some more videos for you. I know recently we had just discussed Ryan Graham had written an article based on leaked audio of a recent meeting that Biden and Harris had with various civil rights activists at which he, appeared to tell them to shut the fuck up and fall in line. And wouldn't you know, now there's even more audio and video of this Zoom call. And there's a couple really good Biden cuts here. So let's roll the first one.
You've never seen me shy away. In the middle of the debate, I called him a racist. In the middle of the debate with him, I took on white supremacists. I'm the guy that took on every single time somebody was threatened in this country. The only white boy you know who did it, period. Out there every single time. So look, all I'm saying here is, guys,
I'm the craziest white boy in off. I thought you were joking. I thought you were paraphrasing.
No, he said that shit.
Nope, he said it.
President Dan Quinn, baby. It's happening. It's going to happen.
That's literally Dan Quinn has said that he's the only white boy to stand up to racism.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is awesome.
Well, I mean,
he's not saying this off the cuff. He's saying this to the head of the NAACP.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's been looking into stevia-based treatments for dementia lately. So
yeah. I wanna ask you something, man. When have you ever seen a white boy dance like this? Okay, like that's awesome. And that meeting probably didn't even start contentiously. The guy was like every guy who's part of like a big organization that like falls in line behind the Democratic Party, they're like, oh my God, President-elect Biden, it's great to meet you. Congratulations. There are a few things I want to talk about. And Joe Biden probably just took off his shirt and was like, you ever seen a white boy that looks like this? I'm a weed-smoking pig, man.
also just tonally, he's doing that old man thing that my grandpa does where he immediately adopts a defensive posture, and it's like, I didn't accuse you of anything. I just said, hey, how are you doing? It's good to see you. And you're like, look, the thing about me is, and it's like, wait, whoa, where did this come from?
No, Mr. President-elect, I just have a question here on some of your cabinet appointments. Do you mind if No. Speak on it, Chet Chihuahua.
Yeah. Knock on the door. I'm busy. Continues talking into the camera, addressed to Corn Pop, telling him to get on stevia to melt down. It's like that like random hostility thing. I'm thinking about when Biden I think it was the end of the second debate, where it was like one of his worst debate performances ever. One of the worst ones I've ever seen. And he's like doing the usual Biden thing at the end where he's like, and you know, man, just John McCain, I want to give a shout out to John McCain. He told me, man, you got to be the pallbearer at my funeral. He said, you're a never guy, I'm a never guy. And try to be. And that's what it's all about. Instead of this vague bullshit, like just start screaming at the end because he's like, he couldn't go, I yield my time, man, at the end, like he was usually doing, because he was like, mad that he couldn't get out of the sentence.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, it's like forcing open an elevator door with your arm.
Yeah, he was angry at language.
Yeah. All right, why don't we roll that next clip of Biden from this same meeting?
Because the success of this administration will be the ability of the Senate.
This is Derek Johnson
confirm
of
your
NAACP
nominee.
Speaking right now.
We have an opportunity here. And we want to make sure we seize upon this opportunity and allowing for the input necessary. 10 more appointments to go. A lot of people in our community are getting a little anxious because they are not seeing enough of the progress they thought they would have seen at this point. Let's not disappoint them, and let's not get to a place where voters in Georgia begin to second guess.
Okay, let me respond. I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one.
Yeah. Oh, man.
He's owning.
What I have done this far is more than anybody has done to this point.
What do you even say to that? Like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay.
So I remember when this guy's president and not Donald Trump. They're so different after all.
Yeah, well, and like the NAACP has kind of been like pretty neutered for a long time now. It's not like they're lobbing, like hardballs at them.
No, it's literally like, what are they demanding? They're just freaking out.
They're like, well, we'd like, let's all work together and not let these people down. And he's like, okay, first of all, I feel really attacked right now. And it's like,
the NAACP guy is literally like just doing like NGO speak. He's just like, it's a great time for all of our opportunities to come together and create an era. And Biden's like, I have never criticized you, and you are fucking stabbing me in the back right now, you piece of shit.
I have always been your biggest supporter.
I'm used to tell people you are the realest guy I ever met. And now you're betraying me, the craziest white boy who's ever lived.
Listen. I gotta respond. I gotta respond to that. But let me tell you something. I'm taking off these glasses. I've seen too much, man. Put me in a wheelchair because I can't stand y'all.
Yeah,
Listen,
Joe
man.
Biden thinks he's giving them the dozens.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I remember when when we talked about that Ryan Grimm piece, I remember like there was a lot of reaction to it from people defending Biden who were saying, how did this audio get leaked? And like, a president should be able to talk to people in private without fear of like the audio becoming public. And then he just said, there was another person who I remember reading them say, listen, I was on the line in that meeting and like, yeah, Biden was passionate, but it's not the way it's being characterized here. Passionate? He's fucking pissed off at these. He's fucking telling them to kiss his ass straight up.
He is furious at being questioned.
And they're not questioning him.
No, they're not. Like he like wants the NAACP to give him the award for best white boy dancer.
Yes.
Yep.
Like he's already mad at them for not doing that.
Okay, I think there's one more clip. I think there's one more clip of Biden.
It ain't worth the job if I can't say what I believe. I didn't want to run this time. I ran this time because of the racist son of a gun who was president of the United States of America. That's why I ran.
I'm not even supposed to be here, man. It's my day off. I guess everyone would be happier if I just killed myself. You want me to start smoking? Everyone wants me to start smoking. I guess I might as well start, okay, man?
But like Derek Johnson is not, I mean, like, I just can't get over how, like, Derek Johnson gave the Image Award to Rihanna. This is not Harry Belafonte. Like, it's pretty, it's pretty chill and liberal and.
No, I think it's just like the point about all this, and like we mentioned this when we brought up the article itself, which is just like for all those people like on the call with Joe Biden, like can any of them really say that like Joe Biden lied to them about who he was? I mean, like I'm saying, like Joe Biden is right to tell these people to kiss his ass, and like what were they expecting in the first place?
Yeah,
they all knew who he was. They all went all in on supporting him, and forget supporting Bernie. But and literally any other candidate, they all fell in line because Biden was the Democratic guy. Like he was the pick. It was always going to be him. And they were like, okay, well, we better get on board for this. And then now it's just like they think that they can be like, oh, please give us could you please appoint a black person to Department of Transportation? And he's like, no, man, I gotta go.
All the brothers at the barbecue shop I go to. Listen, man, they don't care if a brother's at the Department of Association, they want, listen, man, I was the first white boy to buy a jug of molasses, okay? You try to tell me who the fuck I am? Listen, before I tell you to tell me who you are, you got to think about what you are. We can do jumping jacks right now. Take your shirt off. Let's compare. Yeah,
I was trying to remember the last time I read something about Derek Johnson because I was like, there was something really funny and dorky he did, and it's right here on Wikipedia. If you guys are interested, on June 1st, 2020, President Johnson joined Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show. In the interview, Fallon apologized for wearing blackface in an old SNL sketch that had resurfaced.
Oh, this guy's hard.
Jimmy Fallon expressed, the silence is the biggest crime that white guys like me and the rest of us are doing, staying silent. We need to say something. We need to keep saying something. And we need to say that's not okay more than one day on Twitter. You need to retire, Jimmy. In response to the apology, Derek Johnson noted that was powerful, but most importantly, that's about courage. In this time of many people searching for answers and the display of anger and hopelessness and wandering, more people need to speak about where they are with a really authentic voice, and I think you did that with the opening monologue.
This guy is basically Eldridge Cleaver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy is the most insane extremist.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. So they both come into this conversation, Johnson and Biden, unable to speak the truth that they both know or have forgotten in Biden's case, which is that there is no more pressure that can be placed on Biden from anyone within the movement, the NAACP or any other organization. They can't make him do anything he doesn't want to do. What Johnson wanted from him was just give me a little pro forma ritualized.
Give me something to take back to my people.
Yeah. Give me something I can take back to my people.
Yeah.
And Biden, but what Biden wanted was fucking
kiss the ring.
He wanted his ring kissed. He wanted gratitude. He wanted him to validate him as president. And in public, like, neither one of them could do that. And so Biden just got fucking pissed because he wasn't giving him what he thought he was due. And it is very instructive that all of the stuff he points to that like show him to be the white boy of the century who's going to save black people boils down to, I said this, I said that, I said the thing about Charlottesville. What more do you people want? Which is, it's like Trump, and that's very much like Trump, and that because his brain is decaying, he is saying he's saying the thing that you're supposed to be subtext, which is that's all I was ever going to do. Was say some shit.
Yeah, I do wonder how many times he did say "you people."
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and like it's things he said, and then like running for president and winning.
Yeah, well,
it's like
won.
you should.
What more do you want from me?
Amber, there is another clip. I mean, I can't find it, but one of the things that he said, like most vociferously there, he was like, "I'm the guy that did it. Okay, I got it done. All right." Like, so he's like, I won. Like, that was me, defeating white supremacy or whatever. Or what else did he say? Like, I'm the guy who stood up for everybody all the time, everywhere.
But that's the thing. It's like people who like are more on like the left liberal side of media are going to be like the same people who unconditionally supported Biden and said you were racist if you didn't vote are going to be like, oh, this is bad. We need to hold Biden accountable, even though, as Matt said, there's like literally no mechanism. But this is also what Obama was like.
Yeah.
This is what they're like. This is what they're all like. They all think we should thank them for the fact that they ran for president or ran for Congress or did whatever and won. Or it didn't win. They raised awareness of a seat, maybe. Like, Obama, this is exactly how much of a fucking prick Obama was to activists he met with.
Yeah. But he wasn't angry when he did it.
Yes, exactly.
He wasn't as funny as this.
Yeah. He wasn't as cool.
This is so funny. I mean, I am really excited for these 4 years because I feel like there's going to be this incredible tension and contradiction between, like, the liberal media and then the actual president.
Yes.
That's going to be hilarious. Like, there's going to be, like, they're still going to try to do the woke thing where there'll be articles. It's like, how to hold somebody accountable for not voting for John Ossoff or whatever. But then the president is going to be like, it's all right to be in the Klan. You could be in the Klan and be a patriot.
Do you know, by the way,
just because someone sings jazz doesn't mean they're a bad person. A lot of bad people sing jazz. A lot of good people sing blues. Okay.
Listen, I think that Jimmy Fallon kid's all right, and Chris Rock's funny too, and he can do an impression of him. It's more realistic, Jack, with the makeup.
Listen, this country's all about taking who you are and being who you're supposed to be. Jimmy Fallon started out his career as a black fella. He's no longer one of those, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have the same attitude towards what they should be doing towards him. That's what it's all about.
I think Felix hit the nail on the head when a while back he said, I was worried, because it wasn't going to be as funny because, Trump is such a relentless kind of comedy. But the thing about Biden is that he's a sleeper. And every once in a while, we're not going to be so desensitized by it.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, he's going to do something so stupid and insane and angry defensive old man. And it's so goddamn funny.
Yeah, we're going to see him like once a month, if that.
Yeah.
Because like the rest of the time, he's going to be in like the carbonite they froze Han Solo in. Yeah. But like when we do see him, it's going to be a laugh riot every time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be so like
keep in mind we're only seeing this because someone leaked it. Like this is what they want to hide. This is what they're trying to. This is what they want to keep from you.
There's going
to
be
give
like this.
He's going to give Justin Trudeau's wife a hickey. Now you're mine.
Yeah,
he just
you're married to that Indian fella. This like citadel of democracy that only a week ago violated by terrorists, now being upheld to like uphold our democracy rather than tear it down. And you know what? Like, I'm sorry to do this, but like the most crystal clear example of like this gulf between like the way people reacted to it and me watching it was the poetry recital And like if I had to see that, and then they were just like, oh, that was a good poem, young artist, 22 years old from Los Angeles, fair enough. But man, oh man,
because it's not going to be good. It's a poem.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean,
It reminds me of what my mom says about plays, where she's like, I have to see them once a year to remember if they're still bad.
Yeah, like every 4 years, there's the poem after the inaugural, and you go, yeah, that's right, this sucks. But yes, as Will said, then you had to have 500 million people tell you that it was the greatest thing that they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, you're all in this together. I mean, we all know that, but just having it thrown in your face that like, oh yeah, you're in the Twilight Zone thing where everyone's the pig face. And they all think that the pig face, that's cool. It's good to look like that. And you're the fucking weirdo.
I get mad because I understand that they're like zealots and they're like kind of true believers, but I can't help but feel like they're pranking me. Like they all got into a room together and they're like, when we're around Amber, let's pretend like it was so good and just like never break character. And I just get furious. I'm like, why are you doing this to me? I know you all planned this.
There's a word for that, gaslighting.
But it's like a mass.
Gaslighting.
It's like a mass. It's an incredibly coordinated gaslighting.
Yeah.
Where they all like, this is what will make me into a paranoiac. The idea that everyone got together and like, and ultimately I am waiting for someone to dump a bucket of pig's blood on my head at any moment. And all you guys were in on it, of course. But this really only increases my suspicion of like human beings.
Actually, why don't we just just at random? Let's just hear just a little clip from Biden's speech and then a little clip from the poem. Let's get some live reacts to this because, like I said, I forgot virtually everything about both of them. All right, here's Biden.
Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment, and hatred. Extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrongs. We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make health care secure for all. We can deliver racial justice, and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world.
All right, yeah, nothing.
It's amazing how we've been rebuilding the middle class for like 50 years now. Yeah. Let me know when you're done with that project.
Yeah.
I was really distracted by his baby hair.
Yes,
he has hair like a baby.
Oh yeah, like flopping around. It's
like a wispy
gossamer. Just little gossamer
I bet
threads.
his head smells like a baby's head, actually. At some point, like when old people develop sort of a nice, clean baby smell because they stop sweating, I think I bet he's like a pleasant little soft Hans Moleman man with little baby hairs.
They took my glands away, man. I'm as dry as a desert. You open up my belly button, Lawrence of Arabia will be in there. They just cut back and Don Lemon's like weeping. Like an Italian woman at a funeral.
Every step Joe Biden takes, like baby powder kind of forms clouds out of his shoes.
Just absolute pablum. I mean, I just like, and it's like sort of the surreality of all this taking place in the background of 400,000 people like dead and still dying of this fucking pandemic. And then we're going to just come out our face and be like, yeah, America, we have a lot to be proud of. And we're going to be good again. It's just like, does anyone believe that?
And then of course, while this is happening, tens of thousands, if not more people in America coming to terms with the fact that Biden is going to be president and having to decide whether or not this means that they're betrayed or if, they just didn't carry the one and actually Trump is returning in another way. This is all occurring in the midst of prophecy failing too. So it's we're going to have to deal with that again. That's not going away.
How many times can they say, we're going to fulfill the promise of making healthcare secure for all Americans before people, it's just why do they even bother writing it at this point? Just get out there. Like it should be like an Oscar acceptance speech. He should just get out there and be like, "Hey, I want to thank all the voters, my agent, Dr. Joe Biden. Couldn't have done it without you. Next 4 years are going to be great. I'm king of the world," and then just go.
I want to thank the Dreamers in Ukraine and Venezuela. We'll be sending CIA aid soon.
All the next 4 years of Dreamers are going to be from Ukraine.
All right. Do you want to hear a little bit of the poem?
Of course.
Yeah.
If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would...
That was the one.
I can't look. This entire genre.
Yes.
Has got to go.
No, it really yes. And I just realized most poetry that's recited or performed now, it's just the cadence of the way you say it. It's not the prose. It's just like it's just that sort of style of speaking that that I think people mistake for being profound. And they're like, I don't want to be like this girl and her poem sucks so bad, because I remember the poet that they got to do Obama's first inauguration or second one was absolute dog shit too, and probably even worse than this.
They're always terrible. They're terrible.
It's bad. It's a bad genre.
Yeah.
That's just
get rid of slam poetry
or
poetry. You know that Joe wanted to do an Elvis impersonator. And they're like, no, you can't. He wanted to do Vinny.
He wanted to have Andrew Dice Clay come out there and do the fucking limericks. Oh, that would have been entertaining.
Is Buddy Holly still alive? He died. I forget.
I just want to read here, though. This is from Dwight Garner in the New York Times, his sort of review of the inaugural poem. And he writes here, in the poem she writes, "For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This echoes History Has Its Eyes on You, sung in Hamilton by George Washington." Later in the poem, she said, "Everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid." This refers to a biblical passage Washington admire, and which the character of Washington sings in the musical. So, I mean, I'm sorry, she's just cribbing from fucking Hamilton the musical. Come on.
Right. Also, what a weird thing to be like. She's making a biblical reference, about the fig tree thing, which is about friendship and you won't be harmed and stuff. And they're like, but more importantly is Hamilton. It's clearly this person is not, writing, I have considered the lilies of the valley or whatever. They're going through the bad culture that references the original text. The original text is completely removed from it. It is now, the Bible itself is now a floating signifier as represented by Hamilton.
And, we'll get into the celebratory events of the evening of last night, because man, oh man, was there a lot of Lin-Manuel Miranda and that shit. But what I realized, though, is both in the performances that we'll get to later and these poetry recitals, it's everyone's doing new material. Why can't we just read a poem that's a classic? Play the hits, something that everyone knows, that's good. That's
one by Metallica.
I would say poetry is not bad, but we've written all the good poems already.
There are only so many things that rhyme with each other.
Well, I'm not saying it has to even rhyme. I mean, it could be free verse poetry, but just
that's meant to be read, not recited. Maybe just no more recitation.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was just the overwhelmingly fawning reaction to both Biden's speech and the poetry recital that was just it felt so false. I'm just these fucking Philistines could they possibly be serious about this?
I mean, I understand not booing or whatever, but it's it's like being at your child's shitty school tap dance recital or whatever. You sit there and you're like, okay, honey, good job. You don't fucking weep as if you have Jerusalem syndrome.
I do. When I watch my kids, who I informally adopted, do Peter Pan, I just just start crying. It takes a strong man to cry, so I do it all the time.
There's two reasons that they're doing this. One is I think they genuinely are feeling a sense of deep relief, because the spectacle of Trump in the White House for 4 years was horrifying to them and traumatic to them, not for anything he did, but just because of the visuals of it, because they had invested these things with meaning and they were being just destroyed. And of course, like that. And it's the same horror as Judge Smales when Rodney Dangerfield shows up at Bushwood, but it's an authentic horror. And then the other thing that I think that they're even more self-conscious of is, okay, we've got it. We got rid of the Trump. Now we got to make sure that he's banished forever. And the way to do that is to tell these fucking hogs watching this that this is good, that this is transcendent, that this is some sort of emotionally powerful moment. Because if they don't, they might go back. They might backslide and vote for a guy like that again. And we can't have that, because our job is to manufacture a emotional investment in the symbols of American government. And the fact that this is a regular inaugural in a way that the Trump one wasn't, it has to be emphasized. And and we have to perform emotionality in order to hope that the hogs will see it and do it themselves.
Yeah, well, they also, I think, have been jealous of the ecstatic response to Trump.
Yeah,
that all those people have had.
Sure.
So they're trying to sort of fake it, but they can't quite speak in tongues, and it's clearly a little put on. It's clearly them trying to work themselves up, but it's no, you can't. The thing about Trump is that he was something new and something weird and something deranged. So it was much easier to project the idea of a new America, of a new regime on.
Well,
Biden is literally promising going back to XYZ, and you can't have an ecstatic fucking service around remember that thing from, however, 4 years ago when everything was not very good, but we liked the guy.
Well, Biden, I think Trump in the first place was an ecstatic reaction to Obama. The primary criticism around Obama when he first popped up was that he was a celebrity, which, turns out is exactly what Obama wanted people to, what Obama wanted to be. But it was it was hard for Republicans because it was we don't have anyone that inspires anything like that. So, they got an actual celebrity. And he's not a particularly good or likable celebrity from the arena of celebrity, but just everyone in politics is so shitty that just one actual celebrity is much more powerful than even a superstar politician like John McCain. This is a reaction to a reaction. They elevated the arms race of politics as celebrity. Well, here's an anti-celebrity. Here's an old man who doesn't know where he is, and his main unifying principle is that his family died. He's nice, even though he's a fucking piece of shit as a guy. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Republican response is to go deeper into anti-celebrity to give us I don't know, is Robert Bork still alive?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point too, you're still going to have a good portion of kind of rabid Q-pilled people who believe that Trump was the only non-pedophile celebrity. So now I don't think they can repeat it.
Well, Amber,
now I think in order to whoever those people sort of elevate is going to have to be the most anti-celebrity.
Well, I mean, it's a little tricky though, because for those people, the dividing line between is a celebrity a pedophile cannibal or not is do they support Trump?
Right.
So that's why that's why John Voight, one of the fucking most unspeakable human beings in human history, is he's good. He's good because he likes
Monkey
Trump.
blood.
He's vetted because he's a pro-Trump celebrity. But as long as to circle back around to fashion and celebrity and things, I mean, the terms of the real star of this inauguration, at least as far as memes go, was our boy Bernard Sanders. And the overwhelming,
it was a bomb. It was a
bomb. The overwhelming memification of Bernie sitting there with his fucking little mittens and the one jacket that he wears everywhere and the face mask just sitting there like that. It was just obviously yes, it was a bomb. People needed it, but it was obviously a psychic reaction to the fact that at least as far as Twitter goes, I mean this is the guy who should have fucking been president. Obviously,
Yeah.
fucking obviously.
Fuck
That's what
this stupid bullshit.
It's the
I hate all of this. I hate all of you people. This is fucking ridiculous. I will show up, but I do not have to like it.
He's the one guy everyone actually fucking wanted, even if they didn't. You know, they did deep down inside. They wanted a leader like Bernie. Like, I'm sorry, Joe Biden hasn't showed up in Texas to help anyone either.
He had a
He's not-
goddamn
what the fuck is he doing?
town hall, and he just like farted out the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, well, this is the perfect segue now because let's take a look at what the guy in charge has been up to because it is so funny. We all
the biggest fucking quotation marks on earth. In
the guy
charge.
in charge, yeah. So, I mean, we all saw this during the campaign, during the primary, where it's just like the goal is to hide Joe Biden as much as possible. I talked about how, like, in the Super Bowl address to the nation, he just said, Super Bowl Sunday, everybody. And then Dr. Jill spoke for 2 minutes straight. And it's just that, like, there's an article today about how, or the other day about how Kamala Harris is fielding phone calls from like the foreign heads of state on behalf of Biden, which is, you know, that's not something that happens usually in a presidential administration. Do you think Emmanuel Macron was thrilled to talk to the fucking vice president, or like the head of the World Health Organization was like, I'd love to talk to the number 2, you know? And it just,
these are the people who are supposed to just show up at fucking funerals, and yet they got to pretend. They got to be like, oh right. We have to pretend like this old motherfucker is still the president.
So, like, no matter how bad the crisis is, no matter how many millions of American citizens are suffering from like conditions that like we point at in other countries to like justify intervening in them, like in Venezuela or whatever. Like, oh, like look, they don't even have water there. They like the state can't even the power grid is failing because they're so greedy and evil. We're not doing anything for anyone. And like Joe Biden, they just like it's so clear that like they're gonna trot him out there like once a month into these like highly managed like media appearances, of which this recent Anderson Cooper town hall was a great example. And I think we should just look at just a few clips from the latest Biden town hall because there's some choice cuts in there I think that are worth enjoying. So Chris, why don't you cue up that first Biden town hall clip?
How are you, sir? Good to see you, man. Hey, folks. How are you? Good to be back, man.
It's nice to see you, sir.
And you know you enjoy being home with the baby more. I don't want to hear that.
I do, yes. Yeah, he's 9.5 months, so I'm very happy.
No. Everybody knows I like kids better than people.
I saw a picture of you with your grandson.
What's up,
right.
man? What's up?
What? What?
Oh, God.
I like kids better than people on a bed of leafy greens. This kind of goes counter to our assumption, which is that like they never let Biden into the pedophile cabal because they were worried he'd just start talking about it on in public. I mean, maybe he's been to a few meetings.
I mean, no, this is just him. It's the Biden algorithm. It's just this personability based on saying like, hey man, like I saw you with a baby. Aren't they great? Don't you love babies?
Yep.
And
like this guy, the last time he had, like people need to remember this about Biden. He's had one before he ran for president, and at that point he was just being he was like Captain Pike in fucking Star Trek, just being like led around. The last time he actually like ran a successful campaign was when he ran for Senate when he was 29 years old in Delaware in the 70s. And he won by just like going to potlucks and Kiwanis clubs and slapping beefy guys named Dale on the back and asking how their wives were. That is what he still thinks politics, the entire sum total of politics is.
All right, well, let's get into this next clip because, like, Joe Biden in this one, he gets onto his crazy white boy shit, which is really Biden at his most powerful. So let's roll this next one.
I'm going to say something's going to get me in trouble, which I couldn't go through a whole show without doing that.
Well, he really got it.
Oh, boy.
If you want to know where the American public is, look at the money being spent on advertising. Did you ever 5 years ago think every second or third ad out of 5 or 6 you'd turn on would be biracial couples? No, I'm not going to proceed. The reason I'm so hopeful is this new generation.
Yeah, he's been listening to Cubtown.
They're thinking differently. They're more open. And we got to take advantage of it.
I want you to...
He got applause for that.
So Biden is saying like
fucking applause.
You said
That's right. There are a lot of biracial couples and bisexual couples in commercials.
Nowadays, you see an Asian guy dating a black woman.
he's just-
Yes, this is why I voted for him.
I also love here his specific metric, which is every second or third ad out of 5 or 6, which is just like a really weird fraction to do.
Yeah, that's some Scott Steiner math right there. Every two-thirds of every 3/4 of commercials is some black guy smooching an Asian lady. What's the deal? And the thing is, I'm sorry, he's not wrong.
He's not. But like,
these are the only observations he has.
But what I love about that is like your average, seething, resentful American white grandpa sees that and he's just like, goddamn globalists. But Biden's like, that's like that's the difference essentially, because he's essentially the same guy as everybody's sundowning grandpa in the Midwest. The only difference is he's like, that's actually good. That's it. That's the only difference.
Yeah, it is fundamentally a grandpa observation. It's
no, exactly. Like if you're making
grandpa mindset.
That's why I don't.
I'm a
grandpa.
Like, I just like the idea. Like he has a big yellow legal pad, and he's like, "Jill, we're sitting down to watch the game on Sunday. Mac, come on." Yeah. And he's got like a legal pad, and he's just checking off every
ads,
every ad that features an interracial couple in it. But like, no, yeah, like, in a year into this fucking pandemic, like he's just looking around for like positive things to point out about American society getting better and more open. Is just like, look at the commercials, Jack. I mean, I never thought Toucan Sam was a black fella, but he is.
It's like Principal Skinner's mom, like getting out the book of cakes or doing portrait night or whatever. For him, the activity is like counting the ads, like counting the black fellas he sees in the ads.
But like that's why, honestly, like the degree to which Biden has appeal to anyone under 80 is like, hey, your vaguely racist grandpa that you feel uncomfortable around? He's like the good version of that. Like Biden, you can just imagine he is your grandpa instead. That's the pitch to like the.
It has to be a grandpa.
Yeah, it's like we can't we're always going to be ruled by senile white guys. There's nothing out of that. But imagine if the senile white guys were a little more woke. That's it. Like a little more woke.
All right. Well, let's go to like this last clip here. Actually gets into some policy. So let's listen to this one.
Loans are crushing my family, friends, and fellow Americans.
Me too.
Wait, run that back, Chris. Run that back.
Man.
What a fucking liar.
Loans are crushing my family, friends, and fellow Americans.
Me too.
I just graduated from the new school, man.
But how can we fulfill that dream when debt is many people's only option for a degree? We need student loan forgiveness beyond the potential $10,000 your administration has proposed. We need at least a $50,000 minimum. What will you do to make that happen?
I will not make that happen. It depends on whether or not you go to a private university or a public university. It depends on the idea that I say to a community, I'm going to forgive the debt, the billions of dollars of debt for people who have gone to Harvard and Yale and Penn and schools. My children, I went to a great school. I went to a
billions of dollars.
But is that going to be forgiven rather than use that money to provide for early education for young children who come from disadvantaged circumstances?
They really did not give him Adderall for this.
Here's what I think. I think everyone, and I've been proposing this for 4 years, everyone should be able to go to community college for free. For free. That costs $9 billion.
Fucking losers applauding that.
And the tax policies we have now, we should be able to pay for. You spend almost that much money as a break for people who own racehorses. And I think any family making under $125,000 whose kids go to a state university they get into, that should be free as well.
I just like...
He's talking through momentum. He's talking like... His like verbal style in this town hall is like... He's like slipping down a ramp, and he's like, all right, we're at the middle of the sentence. This is the easy part. This is all right, man. Got to get to the door, get to the handle, open it up. It's like he'll be in the middle of a sentence, and he'll be like, oh man, how did I get here?
Listen here, Mac. Every American should be able for free to go to community college and befriend a group of multiracial students and learn lessons about life and find out at some point that they're actually inside a television sitcom. And then over time, you go to Yahoo at one point, and your episodes are on the internet, and you kind of go up your own ass with the metatextual stuff. Every American has that right.
Dan Harmon got one of those Me Too's where he was rude to someone. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but no, like he was in the middle of that sentence when he was talking about like giving money to kids, and he was like, it was like he went into a room to look for something, and it was either in his hand or he forgot what it was. Because he, like, in the middle of that, he goes, and I think that maybe that money should be given to, and he, like, sort of got mad. He was like, oh, damn it, Joe, you forgot your words again. And then well, he found the handrail, and it was like, that's as much as tax breaks for horses. That's like how he was going to get to the end of that sentence. He did awesome.
I love that, like, while she was talking, he, like, looked off stage. Like, there was a guy with a big, just, like, with paddles, like, red and, like, a red and a green paddle to let him know whether he should say they're going to do it or not. Like a man in black, just be like, nope. And it's like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to figure this out. Not in favor of that. Harvard, Yale, early child education. Jeff Winger, I think he always really loved Britta more than anyone.
Yeah, he is. Every time Joe Biden, like, there's a commercial break at something like that, like the G-Man from Half-Life is like, very good, Joe. Just remember, you can't do anything. And he's like, I got you, man.
Well, see, this is the difference between him and Trump is, like, obviously very similar in losing their way in the middle of a sentence, like getting halfway through and not knowing what they were going to say. But with Trump, he just, like, the whole time believes he's doing a great job. And he'll say any old shit that comes to mind, but he's like, yeah, I'm fucking nailing this. Whereas Joe Biden gets halfway through and he's like, oh, man, I don't even believe this. I shouldn't have said that. And he just, he like, has this sort of Irish, like, depression about it.
Yeah, Trump is like, and Trump will also never say, like, he never said, oh, I can't do that. Even, like, he would constantly say things he had no intention of doing. Like, $2,000 checks is a good example. But he was like, anything to get out of this sentence. And I'm getting out of the sentence the right way. But Joe would be like, all right, we need a dignified exit to this sentence. Those sentences are like his Afghanistan. They're the graveyard of empires. He has to make sure he does a good job leaving it. Leaves the sentence in better shape than when he found it.
No, the way he, like, justifies, like, saying, like, we're not gonna forgive up to $50,000 in student loan is because, like, he's selling it on this idea that, like, we don't want to, like, use tax dollars to, like, write off the loans of people who went to Harvard and Yale, meaning, like, George W. Bush or people like that. But, like, often the people who have the biggest student loans are, like, people who took them out to go to Harvard and Yale because they're from a disadvantaged background. And, like, everything in our culture says that, like, hey, if you want to get into the ruling class, go to Harvard and Yale. Like, these are the only people we take seriously. In fact, you can run Texas's entire energy grid into the fucking gutter and put millions of people into fucking freezing, destitute conditions because you went to Harvard. But, if you, like, the idea that, you're getting away with something because you took out a loan to go there. And, like, that just means you're a rich kid. But no, it's in fact, like, I think a lot of the people with the most student loans are the people who took them out because they got into these elite institutions and went there on the promise that it would pay off, or, like, that they would enter into this, a professional, like, ruling elite.